इस टॉपिक है हमारा हिस्ट्री बैकग्राउंड। फिर हमारा नेक्स्ट टॉपिक आएगा, फर्स्ट टॉपिक में हमारे एमसीक्यूज अराउंड 79 है। देन हमारा नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है फंडामेंटल राइट्स एंड फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज। ठीक है, शुरू करते हैं। The chairman of drafting committee of Constitutional Assembly of India Constitutional Assembly of India was, तो फर्स्ट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ड्राफ्टिंग कमेटी क्यों बैठाई जाती थी? तो ड्राफ्टिंग कम्युनिटी जो बैठाई गई थी वो इंडियन के फ्यूचर को डिसाइड करने, बिकॉज एट द टाइम ऑफ पार्टीशन और बिफोर पार्टीशन तब वो कमेटी बैठाई गई थी, एक ड्राफ्टिंग कमेटी जो इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन और सब कुछ डिसाइड करने के लिए थी। ठीक है, so the Constitutional Assembly set up the drafting committee under the chairmanship of B.R. Ambedkar on the 29 August 1947 to prepare a draft constitution of India. Other members of drafting committee were N. Gopal Swami, Aladi Krishna Swami, Dr. K.M. Munshi, Dr. Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah and Madhav Rao, and last not the least but T.T. Krishna Aramchari. The constitution was adopted by the Constitutional Assembly on 26 November 1949 and came into the force in 26 January 1950. The both date are very important. If someone asking you the Constitution of India was adopted, then adopted by constitution, so the date was 26 November, and when come to the force asking, there is a 26 January, and don't forget the year. So for the adoption 1949 and for the force it is 1950. Now another question, who was the chairman of drafting committee of the Constitutional Assembly? So the drafting committee, अभी first मैंने पढ़ा था Constitution of set up the drafting committee chairmanship, the chairmanship of B.R. Ambedkar. Who was the chairman of drafting committee of Indian Constitutional Assembly? The answer was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Who was the chairman? Another question, same question. It is asking in CHSL and MTC 2020 and 19 का question है. Who was the chairman of drafting committee of Constitutional of India? B.R. Ambedkar. And now another question asking after CHSL में continue shift 1 में shift 2 में ऐसे आया हुआ है. So that is, who was the chairman of drafting committee in Constitution of India? Then the question is the answer is B.R. Ambedkar. So when the first Constitutional Assembly, you see the questions is, when was the Constitutional Assembly elect held in India? So it is held in the year of 1946. Okay. So election to the Constitutional Assembly was held in the year of 1946. In the election of the Constitutional Assembly, Dr. Bhim Rao, okay, so BR is this Bhim Rao, okay, Bhim is for B, R is for the Rao. Ambedkar was elected for the eastern part of Bengal to provide undivided India. Okay, so who is considered the father of Indian Constitution? So that's why the constitutional father was B.R. Ambedkar. It is considered that the father of Indian Constitution and the chairman of drafting committee assembled in India is Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Why? By which British statute were Indian representative for the first time allotted seat election in Indian Legislative Council? सो किस ब्रिटिश स्टेचू से रिप्रेजेंट किया गया था इंडिया को फर्स्ट टाइम और सीट मिली थी इलेक्शन के लिए इन इंडिया? तो इंडियन काउंसिलिंग एक्ट 1892। ओके, सो ये भी याद रखना है, ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। सो इंडियन काउंसिल ये जो है 2021 में आया था एमटीएस में। एसएससी के सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं बिकॉज मैं एसएससी की तैयारी कर रही हूँ, चाहे वो जेई हो या सीजीएल। तो अभी सीजीएल तो मेरा टारगेट नहीं है, अभी मेन टारगेट मेरा जूनियर इंजीनियरिंग है, जो मैंने लास्ट अटैम्प्ट दे चुकी हूँ। लास्ट अटैम्प्ट वाज नॉट दैट good, but I tried my best. Okay, so Indian Counseling Act 1892 introduced the provisions of Indian additional members into Legislative Council through the indirect election. For the first time, the element of election was introduced into Indian political system. The provisions of that 1892 Act, the Act increased the number, addition, and non-officially member of Legislative Council. So this is okay. Which of the following Act introduced separate electoral communal represent of Muslim? Okay, this is by the government of British. They are decided to separate the Muslim and Hindu for their benefit. Like today's politicians doing the same thing, yeah. But at the time, the constitution of Muslim electoral are separated. The act बना था separate electoral communal Muslims का. So the act was uh, act of 1909. So introduce the separate electoral community for Muslim was made in the Morley Minto Reform Act 1909, the Government of Indian Act in 1999, and Montague Camford Reformation introduced the Darchi system in provision. So which act was replaced by the Indian Constitution in 1950? Uh, 1950 fundamental document and governing the country. So the Government of India Act 1935 was replaced by the Indian government in 1950. The fundamental documents governing the country as a part of this Darchi was introduced at the center of abolishment the system of provisions. In infamous Darchi was featured for the which of the British Act. It is Government of Indian Act 1990. I'm so sorry guys, आप लोग गिर गए, मैंने आप लोगों को गिरा दिया। ओके, ये छोटे से सवाल का जवाब देना है। ऐसा कौन सा वर्ड है जो आप बोल ही नहीं पाते प्रॉपरली? पहले मेरे लिए था अल्फ्रेडो, मैं उसको अल्फाल्डो करती थी, अब मैं पढ़ने लगी हूँ। ओके, प्रैक्टिस 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 मीन्स एवरीथिंग परफेक्ट. Okay, so the Dachi system was introduced the Government Indian Act 1990 under the Act of Dual Government System to introduce the provisions in subjects such as health, local government, education, medicine, peacekeeping and agriculture were assigned to keep the election members of legislative while the major executive powers still remain in the Governor General. So the dual government system was introduced in 1990. This question can be asked multiple times in exams, so prepare for every SSC or even railway preparation examination that is asking multiple times, so you have to prepare this question. So dual government system का ये पूरा topic है वो. Say, okay, the dash was the group of seven members of parliament from the UK constitution suggests there's a reform of British India. That was Simon Commission. Simon Commission was delegation of constitution of 7 members of Parliament of United Kingdom Constitution suggests that the reform for the British Simon Commission came to the India in 1928. Okay, the total member of Constitutional Assembly was 389, of which dash was representative in Presley State. So total the total is was Alhamdulillah. Or this, the 296 seat was to be able located in the British India is providing in 1993 is privacy of the states. So, which of the following act introduced the provisional in autonominal during the British rules in India? So the act was 1935. ये एक इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से कम एक्ट नहीं है, ये एक बड़ा एक्ट है. The government of India in 1938 was settling up the federation according to 1937. The new federal court was established at Delhi, and this federal court was functioned till it was replaced Indian Constitutional Supreme Court in the year of 1950. Hi. The Indian Constitutional Assembly met the first time in 1946. So, what type of फेडरिज्म इवन सीन इन इंडिया, कितने टाइप कौन से टाइप का फेडरिज्म इंडिया में देखा जाता था. सो देखा जाता था वो था होल्डिंग टुगेदर फेडरेशन एंड कोऑपरेटिव ऑफ फेडरिज्म. ठीक है. In the Indian Constitution, which power the distribute between constitutional state and national government. स्टेट्स पे जो रूल लागू होते हैं वो अलग होते हैं एंड द होल नेशन में जो लागू होते हैं वो अलग होते हैं. बोथ आर डिफरेंट रूल्स. ओके. Now, who among the following become the part of Indian Constitutional Assembly from the Madras? Okay, this question is left. A Constitutional Assembly met the first time. तो वो था 1946. ठीक है. Who among the following become the part of Indian Constitutional Assembly from Madras Constitutional in 1946? So Ammu Swaminath. Ammu Swaminath was elected the Constitutional Assembly in 1946. 1946, Madras district. She was spoke from the okay. She was means she's a okay. I didn't know about that. Okay. So she was about to spoke of fundamental rights and principle of direction. So हम कहाँ पे थे? हम थे बीच यहाँ पे थे. What was the 10th session? नहीं, अमू स्वामीनाथन वाला बाकी था. So Ammu Swaminathan was elected in Indian Constitutional Assembly in 1946 from Madras, and she spoke about fundamental rights and principles of direction. Ammu Swaminathan was born in 1894 in Palakkad, Kerala. In 1917, she worked with the Kamla Devi Chopadhyay and Annie Besant and Muthu Lakshmi Reddy and other founder of Women in Indian Association of Madras. When was the 10th session of Constitutional Assembly held? So 6 to 17 October in 1949. The 10th session of Indian Constitutional Assembly Okay. So the 10th session of Indian Constitutional Assembly was held in 6 to 17 October in 1949. There was the 11 sessions of the Constitutional Assembly. The first session of Indian Constitutional Assembly was held in 11 December 1946. 11 December को ना मेरी एक बहन की बर्थडे आती है, या देखो मार के भी गई है। बहुत ज़्यादा दुश्मन है मेरी, दुश्मन बड़ी बहन है ना, इसलिए मार खा लेती हूँ। ओके। अगर ये 1946 में पैदा होती तो मम्मी से बड़ी होती, पापा से बड़ी होती। ऊपर से भी अभी कुछ 80 साल की बुद्धि होती है। Where Dr. Rajendra Prasad was unanimously elected as its president. Which of the following article describe also as a Bharat? Article number 1 of the Constitution stipulates the Bharat of India will union states, and the territories of Indians shall consist of 1. The territories of states